It's not just that. Again, it's that by having diversity, you avoid this idea of groupthink. You break away from groupthink, and you are able to innovate faster. Why is it?
Groupthink is good.
But okay, no, it's
Okay,
not.
so
That
we're gonna
literally
go point by-
weakens the
we're-
military.
Let's go point by point. No, it doesn't. Let's go point by point then. I want to talk about the Europe versus Africa thing.
No, we're not going
Colonization,
to talk.
right?
This has nothing to do with the actual military thing. I know
It
that.
does.
No. I know you got to get back to
Explain
your
to me-
script. I understand that you have to get back to your script. Okay, but hold on. We're actually talking now.
Nobody
I'm sorry.
watching this actually thinks that your brain's operating at a higher level. I mean, I'm thinking.
I haven't been
faster
able to
than you.
say a
Literally
word, my
cannot
dude.
keep up with what I'm
You've
saying.
literally been just talking
Let's
nonstop,
go
and the
point by
non-biased
point.
mod isn't even helping at all. So this is exactly
Oh,
why,
I'm sorry,
by the way.
Hunter. Okay. I don't know if we're going to get anywhere with that. I did want to bring in another guest, Olivia. You want to go ahead and put them both on?
Well, wait. Who are you ambushing me with? Because we're not even done with our discussion yet. Andrew. Hey, John. What's up?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We
John
are
Doyle.
Entertainment, here to discuss diversity, here to discuss the military.
Nice.
Hunter, how are we
Finally.
doing?
I'm
How
doing
are we
good.
doing?
Why? We took so long to get this set up. I'm happy to see you, John. How you doing, man?
It is true. I'm doing pretty well. You know, I don't want to stand on ceremony with this sort of performative fraternity, Hunter. You know, you had some very abrasive things to say about me in your video, which admittedly I didn't watch. Admittedly, I also didn't rewatch my video in preparation for this because, of course, I wanted to give you the biggest advantage possible. So you're going to have to refresh me a little bit on your critiques as we go along here. But yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, the main critique that I had was just you seem to be very much against this idea of diversity in the military. And that's just not true. Like, I thought that was quite delusional, to be honest, because virtually every single study we have, whether it's of a private business or of the military directly, we can see that diversity contributes to a significant amount of innovation.
Right. So for those watching, people of Hunter's kin like to do this thing with studies where they basically use them like Pokemon cards. So Hunter is going to take his studies and he's going to say, look at this study. It says this thing, blam. And it's like his argument is the title of the study. You know, he doesn't believe that people, like as we saw with what Andrew was saying, can experience things, can infer data, can use their inductive reasoning, things like that. So that's why, you know, it's always studies and data. So, you know, people like Hunter also, it's not a coincidence that they're so obsessed with things like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Like they conceptualize diversity.
Hold on,
wait.
Like,
no, not you, not you.
Is this actually your argument right now? Is the idea of shitting on data and factual information because you think that feelings outweigh facts? Is that it? I never said. Hold on.
No, if you would listen
John,
to my argument, I know this isn't one of your reaction streams where you're going to pause what I'm saying and have your little clip.
Well, this isn't one of your videos where you can just make up a bunch of lies about what I think.
Let's just go one at a time. Let me just
finish my opening monologue here. My point was going to be that people of Hunter's coalition, maybe not him necessarily, since we want to get specific here, they can only conceptualize diversity like a team of superheroes, right? Or like the what was that Pixar movie, Inside Out, where you've got like this guy with this strength, and then this guy is really good at this thing, and they all come together, and then they beat the bad guy. That's not actually how it works. And you know what it comes down to, basically in brass tacks, is that anything the military is doing besides focusing on destroying enemies and their resources and securing our borders is by definition operating at a less efficient way than it should be. And so the whole idea behind diverse identities, as Hunter articulated, is this idea that like, oh, well, you know, if you've got the white guy, he's going to have this way of looking at it. If you have the black guy, he's going to have this way of looking at it. And when they all come together, you know, they can sort of figure out the best way possible because you have all these different perspectives. And it sounds nice, but when you really like think about what that means, I mean, you're telling me that like, oh, we have more diversity because now we have gay people. Like, what defines gay people other than a fixation on anal sex? So you're like arguing to me literally that. And also, there's studies, but that's what it is. It's a fixation on anal sex. Hunter, you gotta stop. You gotta stop.
How long is your opening monologue going to be, dude? This isn't one of your videos where you just get to just go on a tangent.
I know the big idea scared the tiny mind.
I know. Yes, your feelings. They're very scary. Please finish up so we can start talking.
It's not 2016. See, this is your problem, Hunter. You never quite left 2016. But we continue.
To you just telling me a story. Okay.
What we're trying to do here,
I know that you have a mod on your side, but like, are you ever going to let me respond? Hey, Andrew, you're ever going to let me respond?
I know. See, this was the problem. I wanted to set up a debate between you guys. Hunter refused, and then he
I did not refuse. I said that I wanted Hold on, wait.
No, you
Stop.
said
I don't
I'll
care if I
never
got to go
debate
against
him.
both of you
I'll
guys,
never,
but I will say
you said
I
I'll
said
never,
that I wanted a non-biased moderator, and it's
yeah,
already
and have I
proving-
said no? How have
and
I
it's
said
already
anything? I haven't
proving
said
that it should have
anything.
been that
I haven't
way.
said anything. No.
If I could just comment on the structure of the debate, typically the way these actual debates, as opposed to, internet blood sports go, is, one side will speak for 5-10 minutes, the other side will speak for 5-10 minutes. There's questions, etc. That's kind of the impression under which I was operating. So I'd like to be able to speak for a few minutes uninterrupted.
I just wanted to interject with the fact that I haven't said anything, and he's saying there's a debate on a moderator on your side, and this is why he refused to come on. But I'm perfectly able to sit here, as I've shown, and not say anything and let you guys talk. So let's go back to
You're not letting
both
me
of
talk
them
right now.
because you just made a claim that I'm.
Can I
okay,
respond
go ahead,
to
John.
anything that John said, or is he literally
You-
going to sit
Yeah,
here?
you will have
Yes,
ample
yes,
time.
yes,
You just
you
got to be
will.
patient.
Wait. Are we going to do a
It's tough for Hunter.
5-minute thing? Because I'm not doing that. We're
That'd
having
be
a
great.
discussion
Can you
back
speak
and
for
forth.
5 minutes extemporaneously? Are you afraid of that?
No, it's not that I'm afraid of it. It's that a real debate is you say something, then I ask a question, then we kind of build upon that and have more of a conversation, not just you get to
That's
rant at your
not
camera
accurate.
for 5 minutes.
I didn't even go to college, Hunter. I know the collegiate level debate. There's the first affirmative, there's the first rebuttal. I mean, it goes in blocks. So I'm going to continue with what I was trying to say here. Well, it is. I would like to think that we can operate at that level. I have a great amount of respect
I
for
can't
you.
believe that your
not.
version of a debate, you're so scared to
You
actually
gotta
just
stop.
talk back and forth. Are you afraid of my soy face?
You're not letting me talk. My brother in Christ. You got to stop. I'm going to just
My
continue.
brother in Christ.
Anyway,
you won't shut the fuck up.
The idea. You're so tough, dude. Like,
I
don't
never
understand
agreed to
whole
this. You're literally just ambushing me and then saying, oh, it's a formal debate now, so you have to be quiet for 5
It
minutes.
is.
Let's
is
actually
real.
talk about it.
Yeah.
Why do you think
Real.
that diversity does not benefit the military? What's your evidence of this?
See, I was going to continue. Anyways, the idea that diversity does inherently benefit the military, like in that video in particular, I think I was mainly talking about diversity in terms of sex and in terms of sexuality. So like literally, if you're going to argue that diversity in terms of sexuality benefits the military, what you're saying is that people whose identities center around anal sex and genital mutilation have something to offer to the military. Like they could read something written by von Clausewitz or something written by Sun Tzu, and they could actually amend that text and have a better idea of how to conquer enemies and defend borders than these people. And this kind of gets into the other thing. Well, even if not in terms of strategic innovation, in terms of technological innovation, they have something to offer there because he mentioned as well on the battlefield, only 10% of people are going to see combat, right? Mm-hmm. Now, in my opinion, that's more of an argument against the fact that the military has basically become a jobs program, less against the fact that, it's not actually going to have a lot of people on the battlefield, but you've got the innovation at least, if not the combat aspect. The thing with that though, is if you say you're going to have 1 million people that can be in the military, just to use that number, if you're going to just stock it with people, for diversity's sake, you're going to want to stock it with the most people who are the most likely to innovate. Because obviously, I'm less innovative than the woman that he mentioned who created that technology. But on average, I think that's what's important to look at. And if you look at virtually 95%, which is an actual figure, 95% of the innovation, both scientific and technological, that took place on this planet between, I think, 800 BC and 1950 AD was done by European men. I don't know why that is.
That's not the relevance. The fact of the matter is that. No, it is. Hold on, wait. Are you serious right now? You're actually just going to do. I'm going to hang up and leave, okay? If you don't let me actually talk and respond to some of this bullshit.
I'm almost done. I promise.
Why are you just talking? You think this is one of your videos right now? You've made like 50 claims. I'm not going to be able to respond to all of them. You're trying to gish gallop me, John. You're trying to gish gallop me. Yeah. You're so mad right now because you don't like the idea of having a conversation. You're used to just sitting down and saying, heck off, commie, LOL. You're breaking from your script. I know. You're really scared right now. So again, when
you're the one who's afraid to talk for 5 minutes.
I'm not afraid to talk for 5 minutes. I'm actually interested in talking to you, not just talking. Then you talk, then I talk.
A couple more little bullet points out here.
How many bullet points are you going to get out till I get to actually respond to?
Well, this is how debates work, dude.
This is not how a debate works. This is not how a debate works, my dude. Why don't we actually talk?
That, we have this one anecdote. We have this one anecdote of this woman who invented this particular piece of technology, this minority who invented this particular piece of technology. In a vacuum, if you were to keep pumping the military with, say, European men, which is traditionally the founding stock of our military, eventually they would have come up with that technology. That's just a fact. Eventually they would have, because we can infer that from the fact that they've invented virtually everything else. So
do you think that has anything to do with the fact that oftentimes white people were dominating the country? So for example, you could say like, hey,
why
black
was that?
people
Because
didn't.
we're good at innovating
Well,
stuff.
no. You could say like, hey, how come black people didn't really present any good inventions during the time that they were enslaved or during the time that Jim Crow was in place? Like, I don't think it's fair for you to just say, well, look, Europeans did this, and that's just because they're European, LOL. That's not how this works. What it is that oftentimes Europeans held more power and they were in a privileged position where they were able to innovate at faster rates, but it doesn't mean that that is intrinsic to the fact that they are in fact European. And again, I'm not.
Then, okay, I have
but
a
you keep
question
trying to
about
call what I'm saying like an anecdote. That's an example of some things
Not true.
that's some of the things that women have contributed or gay people have contributed. Sure, but it's not just that. Again, it's that by having diversity, you avoid this idea of groupthink. You break away from groupthink, and you are able to innovate faster. Why is it?
Groupthink is good.
But okay, no, it's
Okay,
not.
so
That
we're gonna
literally
go point by-
weakens the
we're-
military.
Let's go point by point. No, it doesn't. Let's go point by point then. I want to talk about the Europe versus Africa thing.
No, we're not going to talk.
Right?
This has nothing to do with the actual military thing. I know
It
that.
does.
No. I know you got to get back to
Explain
your
to me-
script. I understand that you have to get back to your script. Okay, but hold on. We're actually talking now.
Nobody
I'm sorry.
watching this actually thinks that your brain's operating at a higher level. I mean, I'm thinking.
I haven't been
faster
able to
than you.
say a
Literally
word, my
cannot
dude.
keep up with what I'm
You've
saying.
literally been just talking
Let's
nonstop,
go
and the
point by
non-biased
point.
mod isn't even helping at all. So this is exactly
Oh,
why,
I'm sorry,
by the way.
Hunter. I thought when I spoke earlier, I was being too biased. Okay, John, let's give Hunter a few minutes to say what he wants to say.
Okay.
I didn't want to appear too biased because
So let it be known that I said that I was more than happy to debate John Doyle, and
you did not. No, you
shut
said,
up,
will
Andrew.
never-
So I
you
said that I
"You
was
shut
more
up.
than
This is
happy.
my show.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and mute. So I said that I was
That's
more than
great.
happy to debate John Doyle, for example, on Modern Day Debate. And no, I said Modern Day Debate, and on Modern Day Debate, they reached out multiple times. John Doyle never responded, and I directly said, "I'm not so sure I want to debate on your platform, Andrew, because I feel like
said,
you're
"I'll
going to be
never
pretty."
debate John on my show, and I
said
haven't
because you were going to be
anything. So-
biased, and you've now let
How am I
John go on
biased?
because you've let John ramble on for the last 10
And
minutes
when, and as
haven't
soon
let
as
me
you
get a single
complained-
word
and
in.
as soon as you complained, I said you can have the floor now, and John just agreed. So instead of complaining further, just say what you want to say.
Okay, so again, my claim is not that we need to impose diversity on the military. My claim is that by letting more people into the military of all different diverse backgrounds, you are benefiting innovation. And John, I know that you say like, that's not true, blah, 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 wah, wah, but you need to tell me then, how come we have found not one, not two, but multiple different studies that have all shown that when there is more diversity, the companies innovate at faster rates? Can you please answer why that is the case?
Yeah, I do want to address the one study that you cited in particular, the murder mystery study, which you said was proof that diversity is good. On the surface, it's like murder mystery being equivalent to warfare. Okay. But you have to look at the difference between the two. I mean, you have something like a murder mystery, right? That's like a social deduction scenario. You have a finite pool from which to draw, and then maybe you can find who did it, so to speak.
And diversity
versus like
can help
literal,
that.
open, modern warfare. Right. So what I'm familiar with in terms of the literature.
It's not all modern warfare.
I know you have low impulse control, but you just have to stop, okay? You want to go back and forth, and we have to go back and forth. So in terms of the literature that I think alludes to some of this, like corporate diversity being good, military diversity being good, oftentimes what they find is exactly that perspective thing that you're talking about, where if you have a more diverse group of people, then they're better able to assess situations critically.
Right.
That's the problem. Because all of the literature that's supporting that claim, you have to be careful with what that is implicating, because they're not saying that they're actually better at producing the correct outcomes for situations. Literally what they are saying is they are better at critical thinking. Why is that? That is because when you have more people from different backgrounds, they are more likely to disagree on things, which they define positively as critical thinking. I would disagree with that because, again, I want to get back to the Europe versus Africa thing, because you said that the reason Africa didn't have a competent military or innovation, so to speak, was because of European
oppression. I didn't say Africa. No, that's not what I said. I was just making a broad point about the European thing.
Okay.
But hold on, what you just said as far as they have... Well, hold on, wait. I just want to respond to what you said really quickly, because you didn't answer my question either. But first of all, when you have people, you just admitted it, that when you have people, you have a lot of different ideas. You have a finite pool of information to pull from. And that is a benefit of diversity. Second of all, the study that I just referenced to you was not actually the murder mystery one. I was bringing up a study which looked at different banks, and they found that innovation-focused banks increased, or innovation increased, in racial diversity, that was clearly related to an enhanced financial performance. So when you say they're not looking at the outcome, they are looking at the outcomes. The outcomes are specifically benefiting by having more diversity. And this isn't just in private firms where this has been discovered. Even the military itself has found that when women are involved in complex problem solving, they solve problems at faster rates than groups that are just made up of men, for example. So what's wrong with this? Why don't we want our military to be strong and efficient?
I would be curious to see the sample size from that one pertaining to women, because men are more rational than women. And
this is
so
a lie.
I would imagine it's not a lie.
That's a lie. Yeah, it is.
It's absolutely not a lie.
No, it's a lie.
And there's even studies supporting that too.
No, there isn't. There's studies reporting the complete opposite. But I know that you kind of have to just make up stuff. But okay, go ahead. What were you saying?
Well, anyways. So it's like if you take a sample size of high IQ women and compare them to average IQ men, they're going to be better at solving those problems. But if I took 100 women off the street and 100 men off the street, I mean, you would be delusional to suggest that the women would be better at solving the problems than the men would. I mean, this is just a fact.
No, not at all.
And so
it's not true.
In terms of the social production, it is true, dude. Like,
it's not true.
I don't know if you're lying. I don't know like what kind of bubble you live in to actually believe this. It reminds me of the Trump tweet. Like, is this even possible to believe?
You haven't provided any evidence. You're just saying like, obviously this is the case. I have evidence after evidence after evidence that shows that the Marine Corps, for example, found that including women resulted in just as good, if not better, cognitive performance with these challenging problems. I have information showing that when women are involved in high firm companies, they perform better the more diversity is implemented in those companies. This is a clear evidence that women are not less rational than men. You're going to have some women that are less rational than men. You're also going to have some men that are less rational than women. They have done studies where they presented men and women with complex moral problems, and at the end of the day, men and women were just as rational. This is just a lie that you're saying right now.
No, it's not. There's a really good book that I don't think you'll read, but if anyone's interested, it's called The Rationality Quotient, and it's, how to quantify actually thinking rationally. And they found like, I think a 0.67 or 0.68 advantage in terms of rational thinking for men. So again, I don't even think this is worth addressing. But again, what you're arguing, I'm frankly much less concerned about like all of the studies and things like that. I'm talking about like what we know about world history. What you are arguing is that all of the conquests of, for example, the Roman Empire would have been better if you would have had more women involved or more gay people involved or things like that. And this is why I don't know why you are so like afraid of this comparison. But when you're talking about like, Africa was at a disadvantage versus Europe, well, why then was Europe able to come in and colonize Africa? If we were really at a level playing field, they have more natural resources than Europe. Why weren't they able to man the defenses? I understand that, but listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying that innovation is more likely to come from European men, as evidenced by literally 95% of all of it. You're saying no. I'm saying, okay, well, if that's not the case, why was Africa not able to defend itself from European colonization?
These are completely unrelated. The European colonization had everything to do with advanced levels of technology, even different climates.
Where did that come from?
Hold on. Even different climates had an effect there. This idea of, well, Africa couldn't defend itself, therefore minorities are not good for innovation is irrelevant. This is one of the weakest arguments I've ever heard. We need to combine and look at how diversity interacts with the military and in actual companies, because that's how the military is. You keep saying, well, what about the fighting field and this, that, and the other thing?
That. The military is a company. Get that.
Well, no. It's not just the company, but it's a group where there is a large amount of people that are all working towards a common goal. And if you want to talk about, if you actually want to talk about world history, I mean, you can look at historical examples. Since the 1800s, for example, armies with high rates of inequality have done poorly, according to all kinds of measures. One statistical analysis focused on armies with high rates of inequality, and that they found that increased the odds by 50% that an army will suffer more casualties than it inflicts on the other side. So that's some world history for you right there. When you are discriminatory, or when you don't properly include minorities into your group, you lack positive outcomes. You weaken the military. You weaken the morale. And again, I don't know why you keep going back to this Africa thing. At the end of the day, we have multiple different studies that have shown that when women and black people and minorities are included in these firms, they do better. You're just denying this. You're just denying it right now.
Okay, I have another question. Help me understand. if we know that if you have a group of like, say 50 bland vanilla white men and you throw in the black people and women, you're saying that that'll help that company do better, that military operation do better, then why then in the places in the world where we see the most black people or the most any sort of minority group, why then are they not doing as well as where we see the most groups of like white male dominated spheres?
Sure,
If that's the
I can
case.
answer that. Yeah, the answer to that is not that, oh, just because they're black, they somehow have a better idea, lol. What you're doing is stripping this of all nuance, and you're looking at this in one of the most delusionally reductionist ways imaginable. What it is not only diversity, it's how you properly implement that diversity. Obviously, just having a large group of black people is not going to necessarily lead to any better or worse outcome than having a large group of uneducated white people or something. That's not the key here. The key is that when you have a business or a company or something like the military, and they all have a common goal, implementing diversity in the proper way, mind you, leads to more innovation because you're pulling from a larger pool of information. There is more experience behind that. And then, like I've already demonstrated, that leads to higher rates of innovation. This benefits the military immensely. Like, I want to see the military get stronger. I want our country to be kept safe. And that's what the military does. And so it only makes sense to have a larger pool to gauge information from. That was your argument at the beginning of this.
Right. So again, it's like even in recent history, our military hasn't been able to do really anything quite effectively. I mean, we got embarrassed in Afghanistan. We were embarrassed in all of our campaigns in the Middle East. And now it's like I really kind of want you to just think about like what you're saying to me, which is that, you know, if we are to increase, like what experience do you think, if you just had to guess, maybe there's not a study, if you just had to guess, what experience do you think the average black guy has in terms of dealing with high-level military operations, small unit tactics, that the average white guy just like doesn't have? Like, what is that experience that you think he could really bring to the table there?
I don't think that anybody, white, black, gay, straight, women, whatever, have like some intrinsic understanding of the military. They would be trained.
Well, then why would you need them for military diversity
because
to make it better? That's the essence of your argument.
No, I think that you're literally thinking that my argument is like, just take a random woman off the street and plop her in the military, therefore military gets better. That is not what I'm saying.
According to your argument, that would increase innovation.
No, my argument is that slightly. Yes. My argument is that when you train, obviously to get somebody in the military, they're going to have to train to be in the military. Obviously, I'm not talking about
just 86% of women fail.
I'm not talking about just grabbing random people and then saying, oh, look, they're black, they must have better ideas. It's that, again, I've said this now 5 times, when you take a large group of people of different identities and they're all focused on a common goal, after all going through the same training, mind you, to get to where they are in the military, or going through the same process to be hired in a hypothetical firm, then you will see higher rates of innovation. I'm not saying that some black person just has an intrinsic understanding of the military, but guess what? Neither do any white guys, okay? They all go through a proper training, and then once they do, when they're all put in a group where they have to have a common outcome or a common goal, we see the diversity and the different experiences and different backgrounds lead to less groupthink and more innovation. And also, one more thing I really want to quickly address. You said like, oh, we haven't really seen our military do anything recently, yada, yada, yada. I mean, you might be right. I don't know. You might be wrong. But at the end of the day, if you want to look at all of the different innovation that was contributed to our military during, say, World War II, for example, there was a multitude of benefits that were brought to our military from minority groups, whether they were black, women, or gay. So I don't think that you can necessarily just say that they must not have an understanding or they must have the understanding. It's obviously a common goal.
I mean, you say multitudes. There's so many examples. Give me one from World War II.
Sure. So Alan Turing, he was a crypto analyst for the British government during World War II. He was also a gay man. His code-breaking skills played a pivotal role in intercepting coded German messages. I can give you another one. The multiplex telegram was used in World War II, was invented by a black man named Granville T. Woods. He also invented the first prototype of the gas mask. If you want another one, Heidi Lamar, she's a woman. She invented the frequency hopping communication system, which now gives us Wi-Fi, GPS, and Bluetooth. These are all things that have benefited the military, that were brought to the military from diversity. So you need to tell me, why are you in favor of weakening the military just because you don't want there to be diversity? Can you explain that one to me, please?
I'm not even anti-diversity. I I just fail to see the logic behind thinking that the less cohesive you make a group, the more likely it is to be able to successfully fulfill a task, which would require it to be cohesive.
I completely agree with you.
Like,
but what you're advocating for is a
one
lesser
moment, guys.
cohesion.
So we've only got a few minutes left, so I want to, John, you can respond to that and then wrap up your own points here, and then we'll go to Hunter. Yeah, unfortunately, it's a very busy studio. I'd love to have you both back, of course, if we can get an agreement for that.
Yeah, I don't want to end this already, man. We were just getting into a good combo.
Unfortunately, we do have another show coming up here. So, John, why don't we go to you first? We can give you up to 5 minutes, and then Hunter, we can give you up to 5 minutes as well. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I guess I would just say that, there's a reason when you're, as you would know, Andrew, there's a reason that when you get into the military, they haze you and they shave your head and they basically tell you that you're disposable. I mean, the whole idea psychologically, and again, only 10% are combat, the whole idea psychologically is to remove any sort of identity you have and tell you that, like, you are a unit and you're going to maybe die, and like, that's fine. And so this idea that, like, oh, well, this guy happened to like anal sex and that's why he was able to create this piece of technology and that made it better. It's like, don't ask, don't tell. I'm not saying you need to kick people out of the military. I'm just saying that this effort to purposefully have diversity, which is what we have, is a waste of military resources. And diversity in general, I mean, I have yet to see any real evidence. I mean, I'm not familiar with the evidence that Hunter's presented. I'd like him to email it to me. But, the most comprehensive, the most comprehensive study I think we have on diversity in terms of like ethnicity is, of course, the Putnam study from 2011. Famous social scientist from Harvard, and he found that as you increase ethnic diversity in a community, everything goes down. Political involvement, trust, everything goes down. The only thing that goes up when you increase diversity is the amount of people protesting and the amount of people watching TV. That's it. So I fail to see and I fail to conceptualize how, the great militaries throughout the world would have been better if they simply had more people from different groups or more women or more gay people. That doesn't compute. And, on paper, it sounds like it makes a lot of sense. But when we square that with what we know about how humans behave and interact with each other, I think it really doesn't make sense. And I think that's actually why he relies so heavily on papers and studies and things like that, because he doesn't seem to want to argue just from like his own logic. He wants to, again, play the Pokemon card. I've got my EX card. It's peer reviewed. And it's like, my brother in Christ, you just can't really argue from within, from what you know. So
Charizard cards going for hundreds of thousands of dollars these days. I'd like to implore you guys to watch some Pawn Stars, maybe. Hunter, you got the floor for up to 5 minutes. Say whatever you want. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and just respond to all the really retarded things that John Doyle just said. So first and foremost, he complained last time in his video about a bunch of sexual assaults happening in the military, and he attributed that to gay people, when in fact the sexual assault rise in the military is actually a result of hazing. So oftentimes we see sexual assaults at skyrocketing rates because straight men will literally go and sexually abuse other men simply for the sake of hazing. This is a huge problem. You can read about it on army.com if you don't believe it. So very good argument, John. Not sure why you're in favor of more sexual assault. Second of all, Putnam's study. Very funny that you referenced that one. The Putnam study was actually, the reason that they found that result was not because of diversity. It was rather because there were racist dipshits like you, John, who were angry that black people were there. So because there were racists, that negatively affected the cohesion, not having black people. In fact, there are way better studies which have shown that when you put white and black people together in the same community, white people tend to become less racist because they no longer perceive a threat by people that look different from them, okay? Second of all, when it comes to the military, minorities fare just as well in the military when the military emphasizes the end goal of the mission rather than getting hung up on unique individual traits. You talk about cohesion, I agree with you. A unit that is not cohesive will not function properly, but you are wrongly attributing this idea that having diversity is somehow going to harm cohesion. That's not true. Cohesion actually benefits when you accept more people because, again, you lower the perceived threat, and in turn, you then get a benefit, which is more innovation. So there have already been studies, for example, that have shown that when people are hung up on gender identity or sexual orientation, they actually destabilize their military rather than protecting their own capabilities. That harms the military at the end of the day. So again, not sure, John, why you're in favor of a weaker military. And lastly, you say, I'm just relying on studies, using them as Pokemon cards, yada, 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 this thing and the other thing. instead of feeling what's within. I'm sorry, I don't know why you seem to be operating on a very womanly kind of basis here, but in my mind, I like to put facts over feelings, okay? And right now, for someone like you, who unironically said that women are less rational, I'm not sure why you are now relying on your own fifis to come to a conclusion when that's not how the world works. If we went ahead and went by your logic, we would all be here believing the world is flat. Now, I don't know what you believe. Maybe you do believe that. But for most rational people, we recognize that the world is actually round, even though we've never seen the round Earth. We don't gauge within our own logic and our own little feelings. We look at studies and data. And when you look at a multitude of studies, I'm not just pulling one fucking study out of my ass here. We have a plethora of different data points, all showing that diversity integrated into companies betters the company. Diversity integrated in the military betters the military. The reason our military is the strongest and most successful military in the entire world is largely attributable to diversity.
All right, thank you, thank you both, boys, for coming on.
Andrew,
hold on.
Give me 30
I will give you that 30 seconds in a moment. Thank you guys for coming on. If you guys want to come back on in June, we can get you back on for a more structured debate with more particular questions for you both to respond to. Hunter Avallone's YouTube channel and Instagram and Twitter, you can find him on his own name, I believe, Avallone, and on his Discord, John Doyle, of course, Heck Off Comedy on YouTube. He's also often on Blaze TV, Slightly Offensive, and all those wonderful shows. John Doyle, you were called a racist, so you want to get 30 seconds for that?
Do I get 30 seconds to respond from there?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm actually the least racist person, but in our follow-up debate, in the meantime, I would be curious, and I'm sure he'd be more than happy to send me all the information which he was citing, and I can assure you that in the first part of our debate, if I'm allowed to speak uninterrupted, I will refute one by one every single study he cites because it's wrong. And I don't know the studies because I don't really keep up with that kind of stuff, but I know they're wrong. And you can laugh, don't believe me, but just at least remember that I said it, because that's what will happen. I'll prove to you that they're all incorrect. In terms of the Putnam study rebuttal, he pronounced the name wrong of the author, but claims to know like the ins and outs of it. It wasn't actually racist white people because they didn't trust each other either. If you read the study, you would know that trust as a general, as an aggregate, went down. So if that what you're saying was the case, measuring trust as just like that, it'd be like, oh, white people mad at black people, but white people didn't trust each other anyways. Also, in terms of diversity, I don't want to kick anybody out. They're lowering the bar to allow these people into the military. That's my problem.
Hunter, 30 seconds, really tight.
So first and foremost, again, we're seeing John relying heavily on his fifis. I don't know if maybe he's still a snowflake in need of a safe space here, but again,
you gotta leave 2016.
No, I'm staying in 2016 because they seem to be bothering you, and I think that's very funny. So again, I rely on the data. John relies on his feelings, as demonstrated by him saying he's never read the studies, but I'm sure they're all just wrong, LOL. Second of all, I don't care if I pronounced the author's name incorrectly. The reason the trust was lower was because there was a higher rate of racism. Racists are scared of black people, and if they act racist, that lowers the trust that black people have in the general community as well. This is why we have seen that accepting all identities benefits cohesion when it's implemented properly.
Okay, back to me. Thank you both. Hunter, you going to come back for a debate with John Doyle?
Yeah, maybe. But I never got an opening statement either, so you know it's a little sad.
You'll get a big opening statement next time. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you both for coming on. I appreciate you both. It's hard to get people to come together and talk like this. Thank you guys.
Hell yeah. See you. Well, that went well. And now I have a bunch of fucking copers in my in my chat. All right, John Doyle Simps. I see you all. Okay. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell so you get notified when I drop a new video.